But our lead this hour is from the great debate. To be or not to be a big fish in a small, small pond? Or would you rather be a big fish in the ocean? Now, this conversation came up with Shaquille O'Neal, who chimed in. The question was about the future of the Greek Freak. We mentioned in a previous episode of the show that we would not be shocked if Giannis Antetokounmpo actually considered going to Toronto. That is not a cockamamie story, that he would do it. And even though there are going to be people trying to get him to go with the Lakers or the Knickerbockers, the usual big market teams. But Shaq has entered the chat. What did he say? I'll tell you. So if you didn't hear, perhaps not, Shaq babbled. He said, big market doesn't matter. Social media, that's the market now, Shaq said. He then told his story. He said, back in the old days, in the 90s, you had to go to a big market. And I'm paraphrasing some of this, but he said, quote, you go to L.A., that's 50% of your contract to taxes, thanks to the People's Republic of California. More pressure, more articles, more stress. And Shaq says, when I was coming up, market size mattered. That's why he forced his way out of Orlando. But now every market is the same. And he was talking about Giannis. He said he's making the Supermax. No need for big market. That is the money quote. So Giannis, he's not a free bird yet, but he will be a free bird soon enough, or a free deer. And he can go off into the wild blue yonder. So Shaq, the key parts of this, every market is the same. Social media is the market. Okay, let's discuss the question. Shaquille O'Neal dismissing the long-standing fan belief that big market matters. In this case, he's saying the big market myth, saying that social media is the market. Is that how this works? So I've got dystopian society, Alka-Seltzer, and shingles. And we will combine all of these things together, and we're going to make the Baba Ganoush is what we're going to make, the Baba Ganoush. So let's get right to the crux of the matter here. Shaquille O'Neal, we'll call him Shaq the Quack. Quack on this one. In fact, I'm going to send Shaq to the penalty box, 2-minute major for cross-checking. So you're telling me the guy that played in Los Angeles, that made movies and attempted rap music, which was horrible, and a guy that was doing the Icy Hot, the Pepsi commercials, all that stuff back in the day. And now he's advocating, he's like, well, if you play in Oklahoma City, it's the same opportunity, the same world as if you play in New York or Los Angeles because of social media. To quote the great Deion Sanders, that is bull junk is what that is, right? It's absolutely not true. You're fooling yourself, Shaq, on the power of the Matrix. You've bought in. You've lost track of time. It's like being in a casino. You don't know what time it is. You don't know whether it's the day or the night. You have no idea. It is a dystopian society in which humanity is unwittingly trapped. Many people trapped in that world. The world, there's a couple worlds. The TikTok world, the X world, the Facebook world, all these different worlds. But they're similar in many respects, right? There's some other pop-up social media now. And so it's a simulated reality. It's like a PSYOP project filled with bots and phony download numbers and all this stuff. And unless I'm wrong, right? Unless I'm wrong, market still matters. Shaq is completely wrong. It's not how it works, at least not in my world. Well, it is true that you can get attention in the social media world, social networks, from anywhere, right? But the spotlight, when you talk about the spotlight, that day-to-day pressure, the media scrutiny, the court of public opinion, right? And that's Shaq's advocating to run away from that. Now, the tax thing, it's hard to argue with that, right? Why would you play in a place where you do the same job and you have to give away half your money to do the same job, right? And when you can go to another place like Miami where you don't have to do that, like that part of it I can't push back on. But it's a whole different animal in a big market. And, don't give me the social media levels the playing field, because that is garbage is what that is. It's hooey. Hooey. No one is going out of the way to pull up the TikTok of, the dudes on the Utah Jazz or the Charlotte Hornets when you've got the players side by side with the Knicks or the big market teams. And you need the lights, right? You need the megaphone, the media megaphone. It still matters. You still need the drama. And for all the people that have gotten rich as Instagram influencers or OnlyFans, porn stars, like, people have made a lot of money on the internet. Monetizing it being an athlete, unless you're going to do porn, things are not going that well. For example, like a lot of these, the jockocracy with the podcast, well, people that advertise on podcasts have started to realize most of these athletes are horrific at broadcasting, and there's no one actually listening to these podcasts. And so the money is not the same, as I understand it, as it was originally there. The venture capital, the people have realized, what are we doing? We might as well just take that money and we can wipe our tuchus with it and then flush it down the sewer, because no one's listening, right? But you need the drama. You need that, and playing on a big market team, they're just more eyeballs. There's more ears. There's more attention. It bleeds. It's a blood sport, and social media is just kind of a sizzle reel of that. That's what it is. Now, furthermore, we change sports. We're going to change lanes. We're going to go to Miami. More OTA June Sports Talk Radio chatter from the Sunshine State, where wide receiver Jalen Waddle was singing the praises this week. He got up there and he started singing, and he was dancing about his quarterback. That's my quarterback. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, said of his Dolphins quarterback, he's just excited to play, man. He looks confident, coming out with a different swag. He's got dye in his hair and some other stuff. Question. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, according to Jalen Waddle, looks confident. He's confident. He's got a different swag for the Dolphins. How do you assess this one? Right? How do you assess this one? So I'll go first. And this is, if you look at the audio level, in radio we call it the VU meter. It's cranked up a little more. It's called off-season noise, and we're talking about these type of stories, which I call them IHOP stories, International House of Pancakes. It's fluffy, like fluffy pancakes. These are pure fluff. Fluffy McFluff, fluff. And all you have to do, I'm convinced, all you have to do is show up to OTAs, and you wear your bucket hat, your shorts, a couple of spirals. That's it. All of a sudden, oh, man, never looked better. Now, I get part of this is the Dolphins trying to convince themselves they've got the guy, because deep down, they know they don't have the guy, despite Tua Tagovailoa putting up big numbers. And Jalen Waddle's got an agenda also. He's known Tua for a while. They're buddies. And also the fact that, hey, what better way to make sure you get the ball than to literally give a bubble bath to your starting quarterback. But Tua, when things get difficult late in the year, late December, January football, Tua is an Alka-Seltzer quarterback. When the pressure's on, when the weather's cold, he dissolves easily. He easily dissolves. Cold weather game, done. Just like an Alka-Seltzer. Chemical reaction. That's it. All right, last thing. To baseball. Talking baseball. Yeah, going to baseball. That is where Rob Manfred, better known by his gangster name, Rob Manfred. He is the commissioner, the little guy that loves changing rules. So Rob Manfred officially wants to bring robo-umpires to Major League Baseball, and he's going to do it next year. Now, there was a report by Bob Nightingale, which apparently was wrong, saying that it was going to happen in 2027. Well, now Rob Manfred says ixnay on that report A. And a different report from Evan Drellich, who I actually did a couple radio shows with in Boston back in the days at The Athletic. He's like a sports business guru guy now. Used to be a Red Sox beat reporter back in the day. Anyway, Rob Manfred officially wants to bring robo-umpires, that system, to Major League Baseball in 2026. Does that make you tingle? Does it make you tingle? So my reaction is more like a stretch and like a yawn, a big yawn there. And it's kind of like having a case of shingles. Makes you itch, right? It's painful, blistering rash. Now, it's one of these things in life, and there's a lot of these things. It's a bad idea dressed up like progress, and how could you be against this? We want the calls to be right. We demand the calls to be right. And you're stuck. You want a horse and buggy, and you're using a typewriter and a quill pen if you push back on any of this. But for better or worse, umpires are part of the game. Are they flawed? Yes. Yes. Is it real? It is. Is it authentic? Yes. Yeah. The people that enjoy the sterile element, like you don't realize where this is headed. And missed calls are part of the drama. And so can you imagine where you're like, I don't want as much drama. I don't need as much drama. Like the whole reason we watch this stuff is because of the drama, and you're like, I'm good. I don't need it. I'm good. I want that sterile, boring nonsense. But again, I know you're just an old head. I like the human element. I do. And missed calls are part of the drama-o-rama. They are. They're part of the conversation. Baseball has low self-esteem. The players in baseball are mostly boring. They don't do things that provide fun conversation. Most of what sports talk radio is today is not about the games. It's about what goes on around the games, right? That's what moves the needle. The things that percolate around the game. The games themselves are fine. And we'll talk about them if it's a championship round game. But the day-to-day minutia of baseball is so boring. And baseball gets so upset, the powers that be. Why don't you talk about our sport like you talk about the NBA and the NFL? And I don't know. Could it be because all your people live in Dullsville? Could it be? And I love baseball. I watch baseball. And I'm like Pete Rose. I'll bet on baseball. But it doesn't matter. They're boring. And this is one of those things. It's a small thing. Blown call. Manager loses a gasket. Player becomes irate. Leads to conversation. You're trying to get rid of that. You can't fight with a robot. How do you fight with a robot? Right? Spoiler alert. Here's the kicker. There's no true robo-umpire because ultimately they're going to be controlled by people somewhere else who are going to program the strike zone. So someone is going to decide what that is on a human level. It's just not going to be a on-the-field human being. So if you think there will not be any controversy, I remember when the NFL added replay. Yes, I'm getting old. And people were convinced that was going to end the debate. It didn't end the debate. It was absolute nonsense, right? You just start changing, moving things around, right? I mean, you start replacing umpires. And also, we've talked about this in previous episodes of the show, and I don't think I'm wrong on it. If you're just being a shock jock, that's why you're doing the overnight show. Yeah, okay. So if you start out with robot umpires, out of an abundance of caution, there are so many pitchers that have shredded ligaments in their arms, and their shoulders are messed up, and their elbows are all jacked up. So out of an abundance of caution, why don't we just bring in androids? We'll make them human-like, and we'll have them pitch. They'll throw strikes every time. And then no human beings will ever need Tommy John surgery. And how could you say no to that? Do you want to see someone have Tommy John surgery? Are you a heathen? Are you a bad human being? Do you not worry about your other human being? Androids would protect that. How about an AI manager? I feel like we have AI managers. We just have middle managers. as it's 3-ring binders. It's do what the nerds. This Manchurian Candidate. Do what we tell you. You've been programmed. Wear the uniform. We'll pay you a lot of money, and then some guy that is a total jabroni will decide what happens. Why stop with that though? The greatest baseball play-by-play guy of all time is the late great Vin Scully. I was lucky enough back before I was outlawed by the Dodgers. I knew Vin. I got to know him a little bit, and was a wonderful part of my broadcast career. Do you realize that Vin Scully could call every baseball game now? You could bring Vin Scully back from behind the pearly gates and make him a hologram. And Vin could call Red Sox games and could call Dodger games at the same time, and Rockies games and Giants games. He grew up a Giants fan. He could call the Mariners. You could have Vin Scully broadcast every game, do play-by-play. It would be amazing. Maybe the Cubs don't want Vin Scully. They can bring back Harry Carey. They can bring him back. And for me, as someone that is loves nostalgia for my favorite show when I was a kid, Mel Allen, Around the Majors, this week in baseball. And, we can bring everyone dead we can bring back. And why would you not want that? Why would you not want that? It's great. Now, we don't need new people. We don't need new broadcasters to take over. And the other thing about Rob Manfred, you cannot trust Rob Manfred. The guy is a weasel with a capital W. He is the guy, under his watch, the single biggest sports scandal happened. And what did Rob Manfred do? He called the World Series trophy a piece of metal and failed to punish the cheating Astros while they cheated during the World Series. That happened under his watch. And Rob Manfred waited until Pete Rose dropped dead, then had to be convinced by President Trump to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Couldn't have done it while Pete was alive. Had to wait till he dropped dead to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because Rob Manfred's a schmuck. That's why.